Welcome to this episode of Eerie, Edinburgh. Today we're uncovering the haunting history of Ash Manor, one of England's most mysterious and atmospheric locations. This is the second and final story I'll be sharing on the channel from my new book, Hidden Haunts England, which is available for pre-order on Amazon, the first being the chilling tale of Epworth Rectory. Let's dive into the secrets of Ash Manor and the spirits said to roam its halls. Ash Manor in Sussex boasts a history that reaches back to the medieval era, with roots believed to date to the 13th century, possibly as early as the time of Edward the Confessor. The manor has seen many transformations over the centuries. Despite these changes, it's remained a place of importance, especially during pivotal moments like the dissolution of the monasteries, when ownership shifted from Chertsey Abbey to the Crown. By the mid-16th century, it found a new guardian in Winchester College, which held the property for nearly 400 years. One of the manor's standout features is its moated medieval structure, a testament to its age and its role as a fortified residence. While parts of the original moat remain visible today, the current building also preserves elements of its medieval past. Ash Manor offers a window into the evolving architectural styles of the 13th to the 17th centuries, showcasing the shifting trends and techniques in construction throughout its long history. Though it's rarely mentioned today, this location has secured its place in England's haunted history, thanks to the events of the 1930s and the investigations of parapsychologist Nandor Fodor. Nandor Fodor was a trailblazer in the world of paranormal research, known for his investigations into hauntings and poltergeist activity during the 1930s and 1940s. Born in Hungary on the 13th of May 1895, he initially trained as a lawyer, but his true passion lay in exploring the mysteries of the supernatural. Moving to the United States in the 1920s, Fodor worked as a journalist before shifting his focus to psychical research. By the 1930s, he had relocated to the United Kingdom, a hotspot for ghost stories and spiritualist movements, where he joined the International Institute for Psychical Research, or the IIPR. Fodor's approach to the paranormal set him apart. While many in the field embraced the idea of spirits and supernatural entities, he was determined to dig deeper, often turning to psychology for explanations. He believed that many reported hauntings could be rooted in the unconscious mind and emotional trauma, rather than being purely supernatural events. This perspective made him a controversial figure, especially among spiritualists who saw his ideas as a challenge to their belief in afterlife. One of Fodor's most famous cases came in 1938 when he investigated the Thornton Heath poltergeist, a case that would define his career. The case involved Alma Fielding, a young woman who reported a series of strange events in her home. Objects moving on their own, sudden noises, and even the mysterious appearance of objects. Unlike many other researchers who may have accepted these events as proof of a haunting, Fodor approached the case with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. He spent months observing and questioning Alma, convinced that the activity might have deeper psychological roots. As he dug deeper into the details, he noticed inconsistencies in the phenomena. At times, it seemed that Alma might be exaggerating or even staging some of the incidents. Yet rather than dismissing her outright as a fraud, Fodor considered the possibility that her actions may stem from a subconscious impulse. He believed that Alma's stress and past trauma could be causing the poltergeist-like disturbances, an idea he called recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis, or RSPK. In his view, the mind, under pressure, might project psychic energy into the physical world, leading to the unexplained movements or noises. Fodor's conclusions about the Thornton Heath case were groundbreaking, but they also sparked backlash. Within the International Institute for Psychic Investigation, many of his peers criticised him for looking too deeply into the psychological angle, feeling that he was straying away from the core mission of proving life after death. Spiritualists in particular were frustrated by his skepticism, seeing it as a betrayal of their ideals. The tension eventually led to Fodor's departure from the IIPR, a difficult moment that left him isolated from the mainstream of parapsychology. Yet this split also gave Fodor the freedom to pursue his ideas more openly. He spent the following years writing extensively, producing books like On the Trail of the Poltergeist and The Haunted Mind, where he laid out his theories in detail. These works combined case studies with his thoughts on how the unconscious mind could influence the world around us. They offered readers a different way of looking at ghosts, not as spirits of the dead, but as reflections of the living mind in turmoil. Despite his unorthodox views, Fodor earned the respect of some key figures in the field, including Harry Price, a well-known paranormal investigator. Though Price was more inclined to document ghostly phenomena as evidence of spirits, he appreciated Fodor's methodical approach. Together, their work helped elevate paranormal research into a more rigorous field, one that could blend curiosity about the unknown with a demand for evidence and reasoned analysis. The Thornton Heath case, while divisive, became a turning point for Fodor's career and the broader field of parapsychology. It forced researchers to consider the possibility that some hauntings might have psychological origins, a concept that laid the groundwork for later studies into the mind's role in paranormal experiences. Fodor's willingness to question accepted ideas and look for deeper explanations influenced how future investigators approached their own cases. His ideas also pushed against the popular trends of the time. During the 1930s and 1940s, many people sought comfort in spiritualism, especially after the devastating losses of World War I. The notion of spirits and an afterlife offered solace to those grieving for loved ones. Fodor's psychological interpretations, however, suggested that hauntings might not be proof of life beyond death, but rather reflections of the human psyche in distress. This view was less comforting, but opened up new possibilities for understanding the nature of paranormal experiences. His work in the 1950s and 60s continued to explore the blurred line between the mind and the paranormal. While he never fully abandoned the idea that there might be real mysteries in the world of ghosts and poltergeists, he remained focused on how emotions, trauma, and the subconscious could help shape these experiences. He was especially interested in the ways that repressed memories or inner conflicts may manifest in ways that seemed supernatural, a concept that would later influence the field of animalistic psychology. Fodor's willingness to explore the psychological dimensions of paranormal phenomena made him a complex figure. He was not content to accept simple answers, whether from spiritualists or skeptics. Instead, he sought a deeper understanding of why people experience the strange and unexplainable. His work suggested that the mind may have untapped potential, capable of creating disturbances that seemed to defy physical laws, even if they originate from within. By the time of his death in 1964, Fodor had established himself as a key figure in the study of the paranormal, even if he remained a divisive one. His focus on the mind's role in the supernatural experiences would influence later researchers and help shift the field towards a more nuanced understanding of hauntings and poltergeist phenomena. Today, his ideas continue to resonate, especially among those who are interested in the intersection of psychology and the unexplained. Fodor may not have unravelled every mystery of the paranormal, but he left behind a legacy marked by curiosity, and critical thinking. He consistently pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible, believing that even the most bizarre phenomena could be understood through careful study and a willingness to question accepted beliefs. For Fodor, the real mystery lay not just in haunted houses or restless spirits, but in the human mind itself, a realm where fears, desires, and hidden memories could shape reality in ways that continue to intrigue researchers today. It was this unique approach that led him to one of his most challenging cases in the 1930s, the haunting of Ash Manor. By the time Mr and Mrs Keel, a pseudonym assigned by Fodor to provide the owner's anonymity, took ownership in 1934, the manor had undergone many changes, but traces of its medieval past still lingered. The Keels, unaware of the house's dark reputation, moved in with the hopes of a fresh start. But soon their experience turned into a nightmare, drawing Fodor into a mystery that would challenge both his beliefs and the Keels' understanding of reality. Shortly after moving in, the Keels, along with their teenage daughter and household staff, began to notice odd disturbances. It started with sounds, strange rhythmic stamping from the attic, as though heavy footsteps were treading across floorboards that don't exist. On the night of November 18th, 1934, Mr Keel was jolted awake at 3:35 a.m. by 3 heavy knocks on his bedroom door. He ventured into the hallway, finding his wife similarly disturbed by the sounds. The following night, the knocks came again, 2 loud thuds, always at the same time. The third night brought 1 single knock, leaving the Keels more convinced than ever that they were not alone in the house. Their fears deepened when Mr Keel took a trip out of town, leaving the house quiet during his absence. Yet upon his return, the sense of unease returned with him. That night, the temperature in his room plummeted, and a profound dread settled over him. Despite his efforts to stay alert, he drifted into a troubled sleep, only to be roused by a violent bang. This time he awoke to find a figure in his doorway, a small, elderly man dressed in a green smock, mud-stained breeches, and a rough hat. Believing the man to be a lost servant, Mr Keel demanded answers, but the figure remained silent. When Keel tried to grab the man's shoulder, his hand passed through empty air. The shock caused him to faint. When he regained consciousness, he found himself in his wife's bedroom, stammering and incoherent. Mrs Keel, determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, fetched brandy and went to investigate. She encountered the same figure near the doorway. At first, she saw only its feet and legs, but soon the full image of the man took shape before her. His face, red and twisted, stared back at her with what she later described as a malevolent and horrid expression. Believing him to be an intruder, she swung at him, only to have her balled fist pass through the air. Terrified, she fled the scene. The Keels dubbed their visitor the Green Man. His appearance became regular, always around 3 a.m, often by the chimney in Mr Keel's room. Mrs Keel, convinced that the chimney held some dark secret, speculated that the ghost may have been the victim of a long-forgotten murder, perhaps buried within the walls. On one occasion, the spirit tilted its head back, revealing a gruesome wound around its neck, as though his throat had been slit. This only deepened their belief that he was tied to some violent end. As the haunting continued, the atmosphere in the house grew increasingly tense. Servants, fearful of the nightly disturbances, soon left their posts. Desperate for peace, the Keels sought the help of spiritualists and exorcists. They advertised in the papers, seeking anyone who could help lay the ghost to rest. Despite their efforts, including a priest-led exorcism, the paranormal activity continued. One self-styled exorcist claimed that the house was built on a druidic circle, and that disturbing it had awakened an ancient, malevolent force. An amateur photographer captured what appeared to be a cocoon-like shape at midnight, but the image was too ambiguous to provide any real answers. By 1936, the Keel's plight had attracted the attention of Nandor Fodor. When he arrived at Ash Manor, he found a family worn down by the fear and anxious about the attention the haunting might bring. He stayed in the haunted room, set up cameras, and waited through the long nights, but no ghostly figure materialised. The Green Man remained elusive, showing neither a shadow nor a sound for the duration of Fodor's stay. Yet he sensed that the fear and tension in the house hinted at something deeper. Fodor invited Eileen J. Garrett, a renowned medium, to join the investigation. Garrett, accompanied by her daughter and an American colleague, Dr. Elmer Lindsay, arrived at the manor in late July 1936. During a séance, Garrett claimed to receive visions of a man held captive, tortured and crippled, an alleged half-brother to Edward IV or V, embroiled in a rebellion centuries ago. Garrett's spirit guide, Uvani, suggested that the spirit was anchored to the house by hidden documents related to the royal succession, perhaps stashed within the manor's old chimney. In a trance, Garrett allowed Uvani to speak through her, offering an explanation for the disturbances. According to Uvani, ghosts draw power from the living, especially those experiencing distress or emotional upheaval. The Keel's unhappiness, Uvani said, provided the energy the ghost needed to manifest, like a memory replaying on a loop. Garrett's features seemed to change during the séance, taking on the likeness of the Green Man, much to the Keel's alarm. Through Garrett, the spirit named itself Charles Edward, claiming that he'd been betrayed and left to rot in a medieval prison. He pleaded with the investigators to help him achieve vengeance against those who had wronged him. Fodor and the Keels attempted to reason with the ghost, urging it to let go of its earthly grievances and join the spirits of its loved ones. For a moment, it seemed they had succeeded. The apparition vanished, and Garrett returned to herself. Yet, just a day later, Mr. Keel reported that the ghost had returned, this time attempting to speak. Frustrated by the failed exorcism, Fodor sought to understand the root of the haunting. He spoke to another medium, who advised yet another séance to cleanse the house. During this session, without the Keels present, the ghost once again expressed a desire for vengeance. Uvani revealed that the Keels' unresolved tensions and mutual resentment had stirred up the spirit. The control suggested that the family's emotional strife had given the ghost a foothold in their lives, and that as long as their bitterness persisted, the haunting would continue. Fodor's investigation took a turn when Mrs. Keel revealed a long-held secret, her husband's hidden homosexuality and the strain it had placed on their marriage. Fodor theorised that the haunting was a manifestation of these unspoken conflicts, with the ghost acting as a distraction from the tensions simmering beneath the surface. When Mr. Keel admitted that he might be clinging to the ghost out of some need or attachment, the figure finally disappeared, not to return. The case didn't end with the ghost's departure. Fodor examined the statements made by the supposed spirit, but no historical records could verify the existence of Charles Edward or any connection to the royal succession. Garrett's mediumistic impressions, while vivid, lacked historical backing. Yet the haunting in Ash Manor left Fodor with more questions than answers. In his later analysis, Fodor considered whether the ghost was a product of Mr. Keel's subconscious, a projection borrowed by Garrett during the séance. But he couldn't entirely dismiss the events that had affected the entire household, including the servants and even the family dog. For Fodor, Ash Manor was a case study in how human minds, when exposed to stress and emotional turmoil, might create, or at least amplify, paranormal phenomena. He reflected that those who find themselves in a vulnerable state, in a place rich with history, might sometimes touch upon a force beyond their own. The haunting of Ash Manor is one of the most mysterious and complex cases in paranormal history. It's not just a story of ghostly knocks, apparitions, or seances revealing long-lost secrets. It's also a deeply human tale of fear, hidden struggles, and unresolved emotions. For Fodor, the case exemplified his belief that hauntings are not always about spirits trapped between worlds, but can be the echoes of human lives grappling with unseen turmoil. The Green Man, with his malevolent gaze and haunting presence, may not have been the vengeful figure he claimed to be, nor the victim of royal intrigue suggested by mediums. Instead, he may have been a projection of the tensions and pain within the Keel family, amplified by the centuries-old walls of Ash Manor. Fodor's investigation pushed the boundaries of traditional ghost hunting, blending psychological inquiry with supernatural phenomena, leaving us with as many questions as answers. Ash Manor reminds us that hauntings are rarely simple tales of restless spirits. They are stories where history and humanity collide, where the fears of the living meet the shadows of the past. The Green Man's story has long since faded, but the questions it raised about the interplay between mind, memory, and mystery endure, challenging our understanding of the unexplained.